Tie yourself down to whatever chair you're sitting in, because this is going to be a rough fucking ride.
Well, it seems like the Ozempic trend is finally coming to a screeching halt, as it's reported that it might be actually making people go blind.
Well, I'll be damned. Listen to this. Experts have sounded the alarm about blockbuster weight loss drugs like Ozempic leaving users blind. Several studies have linked the shots to conditions that cause inflammation and block blood flow to the eye, causing severe and sometimes permanent vision loss.
And I don't mean to be insensitive here. I really don't. So I'm going to choose my words very, very carefully. Just picture the optics of this situation. After USAID essentially is outed as money laundering with your tax dollars, the person in charge of government oversight is literally blind.
Waste is different from fraud.
They couldn't see where the money was going, but here's a little bit of insight on where we found our tax dollars are being spent.
It's so embarrassing, the stuff that USAID is spending their money on. Who could possibly be against ending $2 million for sex change surgeries in Guatemala? $3 million for girl-centric climate change. $54 million on luxury hotels for illegal aliens.
Your money, $697 million annually. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS Khorasan, terrorist training camps. That's what it's funding. Under Operation Enduring Sentinel, entitled Women's Scholarship Endowment, which receives $60 million annually, or the Young Women Lead, which gets about $5 million annually, is going to women who, by the way, if you read the Inspector General's report, is telling you that the Taliban does not allow women to speak in public. Yet somehow American people are supposed to believe that this money is going for the betterment of the women in Afghanistan.
The USAID awarded $4.3 million on October 1st, 2023 to a group to fund comprehensive health services for men having sex with other men in South Africa.
When you have a social agenda, and your social agenda is, LGBT, well, when you take that to a conservative country that has religious problems with that, and you want to foist it on them and fly flags, what ends up happening is that doesn't increase diplomacy, that actually goes against diplomacy. I don't care what people's views are on any of these subjects. You can have any view on LGBT, but it shouldn't be part of foreign policy to force this on everybody around the world.
And while the public is obviously not happy finding out where the tax dollars are being spent, our politicians are more upset that RFK has been confirmed that he will be the head of the HHS and make America healthy again.
20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. A healthy person has 1,000 dreams. A sick person only has one. 60% of our population has only one dream, that they get better.
And they're not bought out by Big Pharma. And that's the number one goal right now, is to make sure that anyone who touches this budget, anyone who touches taxpayer dollars, that it's not being informed by for-profit corporatist interests. It's being informed by people who genuinely deeply care about the holistic experience.
But I'm honestly not sure if these politicians are even on the internet or understand how it works and comprehend just how out of touch they are with reality and what people actually want. For one, check out the browbeating that Elizabeth Warren had towards RFK and how he might financially benefit from this position. Oh, sorry, that is the incorrect clip. I'm sorry about that. This one here, yeah.
Will you commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member?
Can I commit
You're
to
not
what?
going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Who? Me?
Yes, you.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to commit to that.
And I genuinely don't think that these guys even understand how the internet works, because with a simple little peruse around the interwebs, we can see all of the donations that all these politicians have had from pharmaceutical companies and drug companies over the years. And this is what we find. I just genuinely don't think they understand that we know this, and that they don't understand, or they just completely underestimate the growing distrust in health officials. And we just know that with the USAID scandal, they are terrified of how they're going to have to explain how when they get paid a couple $100,000 a year, they somehow rack up a net worth of the tens of millions.
Senator Warren, I just want to answer a question. How did you get a $12 million net worth on a $200,000 salary in Congress?
Thank you.
How did you do that?
Excuse me.
How did you do that?
So I do think RFK getting sworn in is a good thing. I'm not saying that's going to change the entire world. I know a lot about natural health and natural healing. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I would say that if we are interested in truly learning about these things, we can look into the work that Alex Zek is doing, along with Stefan Lanka, Tom Cowan, Andrew Kaufman, all those people. You're going to have to go to different platforms for that because we can't talk about them on these ones. But those are the things that people should be looking into. However, I do think that this is a shift in consciousness with RFK getting sworn in, that people are going towards more natural health solutions as opposed to relying on big pharma and big pill companies. And people are seeing that there is some connections between politics and the way that their healthcare system is structured. But I will say that RFK does need to hold his tongue on certain things because he does have some crazy conspiracy theories that this one, I honestly, truly, I'm not doing a bit here, I don't fully understand.
Did you say that COVID-19 was a genetically engineered bioweapon that targets black and white people, but spared Ashkenazi Jews?
And we got to be careful with those things now, Bobby, because that actually might be illegal and anti-Semitic now. Because, as we all know, anytime there's criticism about any group of people, especially one that is accused, allegedly, of committing genocide, we make laws banning the speech that criticize said people, right? But in totally unrelated news, completely unrelated from the previous story, Anna Paulina Luna, or Anna Paulina Meyerhofer, has been named to lead the task force for the JFK files, 9/11, and Jeffrey Epstein files. I said these things are unrelated. She just happens to have a history of being a stripper and a thirst trapper for the MAGA movement before she was an elected official. But that's all. There is no other connection between the previous story and Anna Paulina Meyerhofer. Now, there is a certain dangerous conspiracy theory online about JFK actually wanting a certain political action committee to register as a foreign agent that could influence our politics, and then shortly after, lost his head. And it does seem as though the US is serious about this, as Tenet Media got smacked around for allegedly taking $10 million or something of the sort from a Russian organization, which is obviously not allowed because that would give significant political control over the media in our politics. And they were subsequently kicked off YouTube. I think Lauren Chen is completely nuked off YouTube and hasn't been heard of since, essentially. Now, obviously, that's a dangerous conspiracy theory, right? Because obviously we need a task force to release the documents to us, to read them beforehand, and then give the information to us because we're too retarded to read them ourselves and come to our own conclusions.
People like it when you explain shit to them, you know?
And there is no evidence to support that the registering of AIPAC, or as it was called then, the American Zionist Committee for Public Affairs, or the American Zionist Council, registering as a foreign agent has anything to do with the death of JFK. And how do I know this? Well, because I watched the movie, and it's nowhere in there.
Israeli-born businessman behind hits like 12 Years a Slave.
I have a business proposition for you.
Pretty Woman.
Come on, hit me before I lose my nerve.
And Fight Club says he spent years as an Israeli secret agent and arms dealer. In a stunning interview that aired Monday on an Israeli investigative program, Milchan detailed how he was recruited in the 1960s to Israel's Bureau of Scientific Relations, where he helped gather technology to further Israel's still unacknowledged nuclear program, saying, quote, "I did it for my country, and I'm proud of it." Milchan moved to Hollywood in the 1970s, but he suggested his efforts on behalf of the Israeli government didn't end completely. The 68-year-old Milchan owns New Regency Films and has produced more than 120 movies, working closely with directors such as Martin Scorsese and Oliver Stone.
I did ask him once, we spoke about something, and he told me that he was an Israeli and that he of course would do these things for his country.
So, with Anna Paulina Meyerhofer being in charge of this, there's not a doubt in my mind that we will get to the bottom of this issue. Because when the truth is on your side and the truth is what you're after, there's no need for obfuscation. There's no need for bending the truth for your benefit, right?
If I was to ask you what weighs more, a pound of feathers or a pound of gold, what would you tell me?
Pound is a pound.
You'd be wrong because
Really?
There's 16 ounces in a pound of feathers, and there's 12 ounces, different ounces in a pound of gold.
How come?
just the way it is.
What nationality invented that? I don't want to go full Kanye here.
Gizmo, shut the fuck up! So, obviously there's no connection to these things at all, but what's interesting is that I'm starting to see that the left are the people that are actually able to talk about these things, or are willing to talk about these things nowadays. You know what I mean? And they're the only ones that are actually calling out what is so apparently happening, or such allegedly happening. But with Trump now talking about literally cleansing the Gaza Strip, what is that other than trying to remove an entire group of people from where they're from? And all these talk about ethnic cleansing and replacement. Now, the left will call that out, but we obviously can't go all the way and talk about any other replacement, right?
On the table is ethnic cleansing. When you are talking about the permanent resettlement of an entire ethnic group from the place they call home, that's called ethnic cleansing. And instead it's like, oh,
bitch, isn't this you?
that in London, the white British population has decreased by 600,000, while the minority population has increased by 1.2 million. So, yes, lads, we're winning.
But with politicians in a certain part of the world actually calling for the wiping out of a certain type of people in their country, it's kind of hard to ignore.
I will be happy to move. That will be nice. An Afrikaner blood. I want the blood of an Afrikaner. Bring the blood of an Afrikaner. I want it. Amaza! Kill the poor! The farmer! Kill the poor! The farmer! Brr, pa! Pa! Brr, pa!
Which is why Trump signed an executive order to cut off aid to South Africa. Now, of course, the order doesn't explicitly say anything about whites, because you can't say that part out loud, because while it might be happening, to say that it is the conspiracy.
I will say, okay, here's the thing. I will say, statistically speaking, for various many countries, in Europe specifically, the birth rates are so fucking low that the people who are migrating into that country will inevitably replace them, because they are simply going to outbreed the people that are there. Now, the replacement theory, by the way, there's a distinction. Replacement theory is this thing that people say this is somehow a planned thing, right? This is somehow a thing that has been put into place by the elites or some fucking bullshit.
Which, by the way, in case you're an idiot and need it spelled out for you.
This has nothing to do with Israel. There's no connection here with any of the other previous stories or any connection with Israel and what's happening in South Africa. I think we need a bit of levity with some of these stories, honestly. That's why I'm trying to bring these to you in like a lighthearted way, because the world is getting absolutely nuts out here. And what I find hilarious is that for the past 10 years, we've been told that the left are the ones that are crazy, right? And they're the ones that are too focused on DEI and race and all that kind of stuff. But after October 7th, it seems like the left are the ones that are actually calling this stuff out and actually criticizing Israel or what's happening in the Middle East. And the right are the ones that are screaming about race and saying that it's woke now if you care about this stuff, which is like the most ironic thing ever, because it's only one particular group that is simultaneously able to be white but also non-white.
Well, whether Jews count as white or not has been sort of an object of debate for quite a while. We do. Okay. You do. So, I mean, it depends according to whom, and that's a pretty recent development. Okay, so
basically everyone. It's a religion.
Judaism.
Do you not agree that you are a white man?
I mean, I think that it depends on the context in which you're discussing it.
So what are you, Ben? Are you not a white guy?
I mean, I'm a man of Jewish ethnicity, which is sometimes grouped with white and sometimes not. I mean, that's the more accurate way to put it. But when
what
we're
else
talking
would you
about
be grouped with
Jews, who are which is an ethnicity. I mean,
so you're not white at all.
I mean, again, it depends who's doing the grouping and how. I've seen Jews grouped with white and Jews grouped with not white. Are we just pretending that doesn't exist? That's a reality. However,
you could just shut your big yapper.
But it is weird that, we find ourselves sometimes agreeing with the left now, or at least they're able to talk about these things, because all we're doing is applying the same things we learned 10 years ago with going after the sacred cows back then, which were, crime, statistics, things that are happening in inner cities, demographics, people, all that kind of stuff. But the moment you land on one certain topic now, it's just the whole conversation stops. You can't talk about it at all. So, oy vey, what a week. What did I miss, guys? Let me know in the comments down below if I missed anything that you guys saw. These are just a couple quick things that I saw that's happening in the world and wanted to get a video out to you guys. If you enjoy these things, like, subscribe, share this around with people that you know. If it really helps grow the channel if you guys do that. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys on the next one.